of millions. More than a decade later, has devolution lived up to the expectation Kenyans had? We speak to Kisumu Governor, Professor Anyang Nyong'o, who joins us on the broadcast. Good evening, Prof, and thank you very much for making time for us tonight, Governor.
Good evening.
Prof, you can hear me?
I can hear you, Abu. Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much for making time for us tonight, Prof. In 2010, Kenya promulgated a progressive constitution which birthed the devolved system of governance. More than a decade later, in your own assessment as a governor now, what would you say are the successes or otherwise of devolution?
I think one of the biggest successes of devolution is that it has brought government closer to the people. Following the 2010 constitution, which created devolved units, 47 of them in the whole nation. Remember at independence, we had Majimbo, which created provinces as the closest governing framework for the people. But devolution has done better. We have created 47 institutions, which make services closer to the people, make people participate more in decision making, and make services delivered even faster. Now, of course, quite often one of the shortcomings of giving these services is the resources available. I think that the discourse that we shall continue to have with the national government, it is not something that can be solved overnight. We can do it continuously. But before I go further, Abu, I'd like to express very sincere and very, very sincere condolences to the families who lost loved ones yesterday in a terrible road accident in Kisumu. And after that accident, I remember that we have had many more accidents at that particular corner on the road from Kakamega to Kisumu. And while I send condolences to the families and friends, I would also like to urge the national government, Kenya National Highways Authority, to relook at the structure of that road so that we can redesign it anew and avoid future such terrible accidents. This was not the first accident that has occurred on that road. There are many more before, and it's high time that we acted quickly and did something to avoid future tragedies like that.
Fair enough, Governor, and our thoughts go to the 80 people who are affected through those road accidents. The Ministry of Transport has confirmed at least 80 Kenyans died across the country in the last 4 days. Prof, we are talking of devolution. You say this was an aim to bring services closer to the people. Services on one hand, Prof, but many are equally questioning this is a bloated system of governance that Kenyans are heavily paying for.
I don't think that's the correct interpretation of devolution, quite rightly, quite seriously. I mean, if you just do a calculation of what government cost before devolution, I don't think you could say that now it's much more costly than before. I think people never speak from facts. They speak from impression. And I don't think that is correct. What I know as the governor of the county Kisumu is that funds coming to the counties, as approved by the Auditor General, are very, very carefully evaluated, so that the Auditor General establishes that the funds coming are for specific purposes, and counties are expected to account for those funds. And the counties are done very well in accounting for the funds. What is never addressed, however, is...
You say this is not factual. The Auditor General report year after year paints a picture of counties carefree using the money, isn't it? For instance, on the specifics on corruption and misuse, counties with legal expenditures running to the billions of shillings, travel expenditures equally running to the billions of shillings.
Well, I'll tell you, in terms of over expenditure, it is not the same in all counties, by the way. And I think generalizing sometimes is very dangerous. In any case, if you look at the loss in the national government, it's even more atrocious. What we should do as two levels of government is to make sure that government, whether at the national county level, uses resources responsibly, accountably and responsibly, so that we don't continue to have a report from the to Auditor General coming up with such discoveries as misuse of resources. I don't condone misuse of resources, but I say at the same time that funds brought to the counties in general have been used to improve services, bring services closer to the people, and the outcome of what the counties have done over the last couple of years during devolution is much better than the record of the national government before in delivering services at the local level.
Governor, for a Kenyan watching this program tonight, and when the Auditor General tells them that, for instance, Nairobi County is owed 6.2 billion shillings to 4 legal firms, your own county of Kisumu cited for an expenditure of 46 million Kenya shillings, they will be quite reserved, isn't it?
46 million Kenya shillings for what?
In legal spending, for instance, just as an example.
Well, legal spending, if we spend 46 million shillings in legal spending, I would have to verify that. That is not the mistake of the county, by the way, because a lot of these legal expenses we received from the municipalities. There were outstanding, outrageous bills left by the municipalities that we have had to pay that we wouldn't have wanted to incur. But because as a successor institution to municipalities, we have to meet our obligations.
All right, Governor, on the question of the sustainability of the system of governance, which you quite rightfully defended has brought services to the people, when Homa Bay Senator Kajwang proposed and hinted at the reduction of the counties from 47 to 13, you reacted, you yourself, through a letter and said this is a knee-jerk reaction of an accountant mesmerized by the game of easy calculation of figures.
I stand by my words.
And there are calls to reduce the counties. What are your opinion on that?
I think calls to reduce the counties is never backed by facts, by the way. People say we reduce the county just because they are 47. People come with figures 13, 26, whatnot. But I think in the final analysis, go back to the debates that were there in the beginning of devolution. Find out why it is that wise, well-informed legislators established the counties at 47. It was taken to a referendum, it was approved. Now, of course, if people now retrace of saying that counties should be, yeah, let them put the facts on the table, it will be debated. If indeed it's a national consensus that counties should be reduced, who am I to refuse it?
And on that statement, Governor, to be fair, that statement is dated 23rd of April 2025. You equally say at the dawn of devolution, there were extensive discussions about how many counties were appropriate. These historical and constitutional considerations cannot be casually dismissed. Yeah,
I said so, and I'm saying I'm not selling back my words. I think those discussions are legitimate to be carried out. I don't stop anybody from proposing the number of counties be established, but we cannot continue every year in, year out, coming up with new figures. So far, the 47 counties have done pretty well, I think. There are problems, definitely. So that's the national government. So what we need to do, rather than nostalgically go back to what we proposed before as 13, let's go ahead with the job. Let this county do a good job. I think they're doing a good job. I think in Kisumu County, we are quite satisfied with what we are doing. Let us correct our mistakes. Let us see how we can restructure the internal governance in counties without necessarily thinking that the number 47 is a magic number that might be reduced.
Fair enough, Governor. And there are sections of this country that have had their first tarmac pieces of road since the inception of devolution. There are others who had the first CS section, for instance, in Wajir. There are quite scenarios and successes of devolution, isn't it?
Yes. And if you look at the delivery services, for example, in the health sector, by the way, I was Minister for Medical Services in the national government, in the coalition government. In the health sectors, this is the sector in which countries have made tremendous progress, bringing health to the people, diversifying healthcare delivery, and training more health workers, bringing out community health workers, training community health workers to deliver both preventive health and curative health at the bottom of the pyramid. So if we had to list the gains of devolution in terms of the health sector, there are quite many. And the ministers of health in the counties who meet very regularly keep on improving what they're doing. proposing them to the county governments. The limit, however, is that funds must be made available for this very useful service is going to the people in the health sector in particular. If I take, for example, the only responsibility given to counties in the education area, ECD, early childhood education service, early childhood education, also called ECD, really has expanded exponentially in the nation since devolution came in. Before, you had what were called nursery schools, nursery classes in primary schools. What happened was that there was a mixture of what the nursery classes were with the responsibility of primary school teachers. Now we have these ECD schools, specifically handled by counties, designing programs and syllabuses for ECD. And I think the foundation of education in Kenya now is at ECD level. Me, I'm very, very happy that counties were given the only service in education at ECD level, because that is where education begins. And the more we can do it well, the better will be the students who will graduate from ECD to primary schools.
All right, Governor, stay with me. We are taking a short break here on TV 47. Time for us to pay the bills. We will be back with this discussion. We are hosting Kisumu Governor, Professor Anyang Nyong'o, to discuss the state of devolution and the counties ahead of the 2025 Devolution Conference, which begins tomorrow in Homa Bay County. We'll be back after this break.